Hello, everybody, wherever you may be from coast to coast and sea to shining sea. Welcome to your solar weather update. This is going to cover solar weather and maximum usable frequencies around the world from Saturday, the 4th day of February, until Monday, the 6th. First, the A1A, and this gives us a little view of exactly what's to come. We had a lot of sunspots active on the northern hemisphere of the sun and on the southern hemisphere, and those sunspots are starting to come around from about 10 days ago. We're going to start seeing some solar flux index numbers rising back up this week, and clearly I think we're going to be over 150 here by the end of this coming next week, I should say. Since this is Saturday, it'll be next week, the week of the 5th. So here's your magnetosphere view. Doesn't show those new sunspot regions yet, but they're coming. They're on the left side here. If you take a look at the eastern limb of the sun, right there at the about 10 o'clock side, and about 8 o'clock. Right there is where those new sunspots are coming, and they're going to help us tremendously. Coronal hole map. 74 and 75 both can have an impact on Earth. We'll have to watch our noise floors. Right now, we're not seeing any warnings for an increased amount of noise coming from these, but certainly solar wind can be elevated from it. We'll keep an eye on it. Solar Ham says the solar flow detection over the last 3 days has been pretty quiet. We're really kind of puttering along at the sea level. No big M or X flares over the last 72 hours. So you should stay pretty stable on the solar flux index front, but I do believe we're going to start seeing a big increase coming towards the end of the week. Global D-layer absorption, this is normal. This is what we think would be normal, maybe even a little better than normal. So frequencies about 7 megahertz, so the 40 meter band, attenuated maybe by 1 dB. That's fairly quiet for D-layer absorption. So the attenuation on 40 meters for places like Hawaii and Australia and New Zealand, not going to be too bad today. You should have some great conditions out there. Solar flux index is flat from yesterday. It's at 135. Smooth sunspot number is 74. That's up 18. That's a good metric. Area number is down to 190, but that's 10 better than yesterday. Expect our numbers to come up. I think we're going to have some good numbers towards mid to late next week. The KP index, you can see we did have it as high as about a KP 3.6, and that kind of has dropped down now, and here's that quiet weekend we talked about on Thursday coming our way. Current KP index, KP1, that's very quiet, good conditions out there. Real-time solar wind is down to 326 kilometers per second, which is fantastic. We should have a fairly good low solar wind component today, tomorrow, and Monday, so we should have some good days of some continued quiet conditions on the HF bands. BZ latitude, this is just a small portion where it's going to go south today, but for the most part, north BZ, great conditions, not quite as much fading on the bands as we've had on shortwave and ham radio. 3-day geomagnetic forecast, you see it's kind of a 2 to 3 today, down to a 2 on Sunday, and back up to 2 or 3 tomorrow, Monday. That would give us basically a noise floor of S1, maybe S2 at the most. Both are quiet noise floors, so should be pretty good. Let's look at these maximum usable frequencies, and I know the Bouvet Island expedition has not yet got onto the island to start setting up yet, but it'll give you an idea of how things are going. First, the worldwide map. This gives us a great indication of just how far north 10 meters is going. It's not showing 10 going as high as, meaning as far north as Anchorage right now, but it will hit Anchorage today. Will it hit Fairbanks? That's the question. And not sure if it will go that high, but I know earlier today, folks in Sweden, Norway, Finland were all working 10. So this is a good indicator that maybe as far north as Anchorage, we might just get a little bit of 10 meter propagation. Here's a closer look at the the northern hemisphere. And you can even see how things in Europe are kind of calming down a little bit, but still some good radio. Look at 14 megahertz there in Italy, 15 at Sicily, and you get all the way into France, the northwest part of France, 13 megahertz there. So the maximum usable frequencies are hanging on long past dark now because we've had a great SFI for a long time. Expect these numbers to continue tomorrow. Look for the 10 meter band as far north as Finland and Norway again tomorrow. It should be great conditions for you. Southern hemisphere, of course, most of South America and Africa will also get 10 meters, but you see that area there towards the middle where it gets blue. That's right there where we're not getting 10 meters. There'll be a segment, then that segment splits the the north and the south hemisphere, literally where the 10-meter band is. It's a much larger lobe in the northern hemisphere, much wider, much bigger than the one in the southern hemisphere. You can kind of see it right there. Much more length or distance in height to the 10-meter band than it is in the south. Let's take a close look towards Australia. You can see really well here how the waves of the meter bands are starting to come into the eastern part of the world here. You see the Far East still as they're waking up. Look how close the 17-meter band is to Tokyo right now. And within a half hour, they'll be on the 15-meter band, and then they'll be on 12, and then they'll be on 10. Just absolutely brilliant conditions. In the south, Australia, you can see that 10-meter line where it's 30 megahertz right there in Brisbane. That is going to go south, but it's going to be towards the mid to late afternoon when things start to go south towards Melbourne. That's when you'll get 10 meters in Melbourne and Adelaide, Perth, and places like that towards the late afternoon. This MUF map shows that. It's going to be right before we get into kind of the mid to late afternoon hours where that 10-meter band slides down to about 45 degrees south, and that would put it right there between the southern part of the mainland of Australia and Tasmania. So Tasmania will be on 12, and the rest of Australia could reach 10 meters. Should be a good day to work your amateur radio or your shortwave radio. Your ham and shortwave forecast today through Monday, powered by ICOM. ICOM for the love of all things radio. SFI's pretty stable through Monday, but they will increase next week. We're going to see a marked increase, I think, by midweek, where we're going to be in the 150s and higher. We'll see how things go. Some fading in both hemispheres at times. It says through Friday. It should be through Monday. Noise floors S0 to S2. This says S3. It's a slide I didn't quite correct there. S0 to S2 at times. Some great noise floors for the bands below 10 megahertz. I can see that you're probably going to be able to make some fantastic calls there. Voice bands, Northern Hemisphere, 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10. If you're south of about 60 degrees north, that puts it right between Fairbanks and Anchorage, Alaska, and it gets you right into the southern parts of Finland and Norway in the European continent there. The mid-latitudes, that'd be tropic to tropic. It's always the same, 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10, but there is a little swath where 10 meters does disappear for a short time during the middle part of the day. So you'll have 10 early, and then it'll go away. It'll come back again in the mid-latitudes. Southern latitudes, 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10 if you're north of about 40 degrees south latitude, and that'll be in the afternoon. 10 meters will come in just about at 45 degrees south, and everywhere north of that's going to get 10, but south of that will be on the 12-meter band. Nighttime amateur radio, some fading at times through Monday. Expect noise floors to remain fairly quiet, though, as well. Nighttime amateur radio, 160, 80, 60, 40, 30. And I got to tell you, DX is great after sunset, even in the northern hemisphere. We don't have as much sunlight. It's the middle of winter here. But those maximum usable frequencies, because of the solar radiation we've had, the high SFIs lately, the ionosphere is very charged, and it's making some great calls after dark. So don't be afraid to stay on 20 or 17 after dark. It's going to be some pretty good DX there. Shortwave listeners, your daytime shortwave, expect some fading at times. Solar flux index should stay high enough for some great DX on shortwave after sunset. Noise floors stay low into Monday. Shortwave daytime bands, 31, 25, 22, 19, 15, and the 13-meter band. Nighttime shortwave, fading at times, noise floors low into Mondays for some great nighttime DX for you. Shortwave nighttime, 120, and it's not going to work very long. We just don't have a high in SFI for 120 long distance. 90 is going to be a little bit better, and then we sit the sweet spot there at 75 and 60 and 49, 41. It's just be some great conditions from 75 to the 41-meter band. Then you add 31, 25, 22, and the 19-meter band, which will be open at night in the southern hemisphere about 2 hours after sunset, in the north about an hour after sunset, and the signals will fade away. Here is solar cycle 22 compared to what projections were. We are having an amazingly good solar cycle, so hopefully the good stuff will continue. I'll be back with a full ham radio live show coming up. We're going to honor someone from the channel, also work some DX, and I hope to see you there. My name's Larry. My call sign amateur radio is Kilo 7 Hotel November. Thank you for watching this weather segment. Please get your radios on. It's going to be some good conditions through the weekend and a great time to work some good DX. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless you.